Hi everyone, welcome to week 4. And this week we are going to learn about decision structures and the lab of this particular chapter. It's chapter 5 actually in your book, if you see. So, under this chapter 5, the lab that we are going to do together is the decking cost calculation application. That is basically what you see on the picture, on the screenshot actually. I'm sharing this on the screenshot. So in this app, we are going to create a Windows form application. The name of the application is Taking Cost Calculator, and you can see that most of the icons that you see on this particular application, this is the user interface design. So this is not something that I we have developed yet, but this is the screenshot about how this app should look like. So this, if you look at these screenshots, most of the um, components you can see there are already being developed in um, one of your previous sessions. But we will combine your already done components together. We will add a couple of new components, but then the most important thing that we are going to do together in this lab is that we will be adding some logical steps. What is logical steps? Suppose you, in this example, for example, you see um, you have this application and then you have a label, decking cost calculator. This is the heading of the name of the form. Then, I mean, name of the form and the title of the form is also the same. Then you have the square footage, right? This is your I mean, input text box. So typically, a suppose you are supporting a local business, you are helping a local business who are who are doing some decking at the residential facilities. So they provide some kind of estimator, and for uh, in the typical situation, you walk into the store, let's say Home Depot, and then you are going to some associate who is helping to prioritize the projects, the managing the projects, and you ask them that I want to do my deck, and what should I what do I look at? I mean, what should be the estimate for that? So then that person typically uh, talks to you, and then interactively they ask you about these things. How many, like how big is your deck? I mean, like what is the square footage? Let's say you say 500 square feet. Then they ask you what type of decking you are looking like, you are looking for. It can be composite, it can be redwood, it could be pressure treated lumber. um, I mean, whatever type. So you suppose you choose composite. I mean, let's say composite is the most popular in the region. So when you choose composite, then the composite has a price with it. Then multiplied by the square footage, the cost estimates comes up, and then you basically calculate the cost by clicking on the calculate button. And there is a clear button as well that will basically clear your form. So the idea is, depending on the customer's choice, you can, I mean, the application will say like, if the customer chooses composite, then the cost estimate will be this one. If the customer chooses redwood, then the cost estimate will be another one. If the customer chooses pressure treated lumber, I mean, these are our example, then the cost estimate will be this one. So After that, I mean, of course, there will be subsequent processes to do some other steps to schedule, to put down the initial amount of money, whatever it is. I mean, this form does not cover the subsequent steps, but this form covers only the estimator. So this is a nice tool because, I mean, as I said, for example, you are supporting a local business and who are doing all these things decking, then they could use your application, your form, and you will be asked to create this type of simple form. And I mean, this is very useful because uh, most of the cases, the local businesses, they don't spend a lot on the information technology. I'm not talking about Home Depot, I'm talking about some local business. So in that case, if you have something very handy, very speed, very nicely speed to market application, then it will be done in a very cheap, I mean, less costly and very effective way. I mean, you don't need anything other than that in this application. So in this exercise, we are walking through the steps by which this form can be created using Visual Basic. Okay, so this is our lab this week. So stay tuned. We will be let's start the lab. So guess what is the first step to do that? The first step should be to create your, I mean, to start up your Visual Studio, right? So let's do that. So this is our Visual Studio, and as I mean, you could do it like continue without any code, and then you end up with this blank Visual Studio. And then what you should do, you should go to File, then New Project. Okay, and now what do we choose? We choose the Windows form. uh, it should be Windows form powered by .NET. Here, Windows Forms app .NET framework. So this is a project for creating an application with a Windows Forms. So next, and then let's give a name to the application. So call it deck cost estimate, and then you note that I selected this particular option, place solution and project in the same directory. It is useful to zip the project and transfer to other folder. So then whoever is working on your project, in this case I will be checking how did you code by downloading it to my desktop. So basically, if you choose this particular option, then everything will be in the same folder and it will be easier for me to open up your project. So I am highly recommending you to do that. So then let's create the project by clicking the create button. So once we create, the project is created, you can see a blank form is there, and with the default names. So as we have already done previously, let's do some quick things. Select the form by clicking on the area of the form. Change the name. So the name should be decking cost calculator estimator. Decking cost estimator. So here under the properties, here decking cost estimator, I made the change, and then instead of form 1 we can say FRM decking, form decking. I mean, this is a example name. you don't have to use it necessarily. It's something that I am using. So let's if you go here, you can see that the name of the form is updated. You have already done it in your past two assignments, so this should be very easy for you right now. So now we are renaming this form and making it like decking, let us say decking.bb. So now we have made significant changes to the code. Let's try to start the code, and you will see some errors, and the error is in the form name. So double click on the error list. I mean, on the error list, you see the error. Double click there, and then you should make it FRM and then decking. That's the form name. Okay. So now if you want to start it, you will see that a an empty form is generated. Okay. So we are there. I mean, we have our template ready. Now we are ready to code. Follow these steps very closely because your homework assignment this week will be just this one. So if you follow the lecture, if you follow these steps, if you ask questions, for example, then chances that you will be more successful in completing this assignment and submitting it in time. So let's after we create this form, let's put that reference. What do we want? I mean, what is the requirement? So this is our requirement, and I am putting it somewhere in the side, and then let us size the window in a way that we can put both of the things together. Our purpose is to look at the requirement at every step. I mean, as a developer, software developer, you should pay attention, very close attention to your requirement, and in fact, whenever some confusion arises, you should ask questions to the business partner, whoever is generating the assignment. Don't assume anything. So let's go to create the application. Okay. So I'm just adjusting the windows. So first component that we have to create there is the decking cost calculator header. Let's do that. So we have to create a level. So level object, let's bring a level object here. uh, Oops, here. So the level object needs to be named properly. We can say the decking cost calculator. So here, this one. So our level name is set properly, and we have to work with the font. So you have to go to the font and select. You see three dots here. Click there. This pop-up will comes up, and then you go to. I mean, I'm choosing Arial regular. You, I mean, not regular bold, but you can choose whatever you want. You don't have to go with my choice. So okay, and then you see the decking cost calculator. So make the font color. So let's see what can be our font color. Let's make it grayish little bit. So where is that color? Let's say this one, gold. Make it, no, not gold is not good. Making a little bit grayish gold. So dark gold, this one. I mean, this is the closest one if you look at the requirement. So another thing you should do, select the form, and the back color needs to be set as white. So click the control and go to web, and then make it white. Okay, so that way it looks a little brighter, and you can see whatever you want to do there. So that's it, that's the level, and you need to change the name of the level as well. So call it title, level title. So that's about it, and then let's try it again. I mean, let's try to see whatever we have built. So we are on the right track. So another recommendation, as you go through the process, you should, at the end of each operation, what you should do, you should try the code, see it is working or not. I mean, getting any code debugged in proper way is the key to the success. So basically, you, after each iteration of your development, you should try the code, that whatever you have developed, whether that is available, that is running properly, whether it is throwing an error. So those things needs to be addressed. So we are good up to this point. Okay, so what is the next step? We have to add a level square footage, and then have, we need to have a text box for the square footage. So another level, let's bring it here. So drag it here, call it square footage. So write down the name of the, I mean, text of the level square footage, right? So you call it square footage, and then change the font. What will be the font? I mean, what I recommend, making it very consistent. Don't use different font for different levels, that doesn't look good. So you should use Arial. If you start with Arial, and then I'm using 10 font size, so this is it. And let's choose the color, that should be consistent as well, dark gold. So that is okay, I mean, that's fine. So we got this one. Now next step is a text box. So where is the text box here? I'm looking at the toolbox, and the text box is here. Let's drag it here, so we can just bring it here. So make sure that your top is aligned to top. I mean, that's, that way we can do in this way, and make it little bigger, and that's your text box. You don't have to put any text there, but you should change the name. Name should be square footage, or yeah. So let's call it square footage text box. Text box. We don't need one. I mean, text box one, the default names are somehow problematic. We should not be using that, because that is ambiguous and meaningless. Because whenever you write a code, you should make the name of the variable consistent with your business domain. So exactly, name of the variable should reflect whatever action, whatever outcome you are uh, thinking to getting out of it. So that's your square footage. It doesn't look very prominent. Let's go to the font color, work with it a little bit more. So let's make it a little bit darker. Can we do that? I don't think so. We cannot do a little bit darker. So let's live with that. So square footage is like that. Then the next step is, I mean, this is little bigger. You can make it little smaller as well. The next step is this decking type object. So here comes a new, I mean, this decking type object. This one, actually you need some new component. So that should be this should be a group box, means a lot of components will be there inside this group. In the book, actually, there is a discussion in detail about choosing a panel versus group box. I mean, different type of similar component, which one is the best. So please go through that discussion, read it yourself, and I mean, you can ask questions about it later. So let's create the group box object and put it here. So this is something like whatever we want to do here, decking type. So let's first edit the title here. So let's edit the title and make it deck type. Okay, so make it deck type, and deck type, oh sorry, this is not right. So deck type, what is the font? So we need to change the font. So under the deck type, actually we have to choose several other components. So let's change the font color as well. So go to wave and dark gold. Next, we need to create three different components, I mean three different check boxes. Radio buttons, sorry, check boxes means you can have multiple selection, but radio buttons means you can have only one choice. So that's the difference between the checkbox and the radio button. So as a web developer, you need to know all these implications. Like sometimes if you do, like if you choose a checkbox but make it functioning like a radio button, not that it is possible inside Visual Basic, but it may be possible if you use other programming language, JavaScript, HTML. You can make it working like a radio button. Sometimes we do see that type of like that type of application deployed to the to for doing several things, but that's not a good practice. That's very confusing. You should use radio button where you have only one choice. You should use checkbox where you have multiple choice. Okay, so let's go to the radio button. So let's drag a radio button component here. Oops. So this radio button needs to be here. And similarly drag another radio button. Let's create three consecutive radio buttons inside the group box. Group box. So last one, radio button. Here you are. So these are the radio buttons. Let's change the names now. This should be by definition this should be pressure treated lumber. So call it lumber, pressure treated lumber. And then change the name as well. So call it lumber radio button. Okay, and then the next one is we have to make it a little bigger. The next one is called we have to delete this one, otherwise we can't view it actually. So eraser. Okay, that's good. So second one is redude, so call it redude then. So instead of radio button 2, call it redude, and make the name of the form as red wood radio button. Okay, so the third one is called composite, so call it composite. So composite, and then what you should do, you should make it composite radio button. So that is it. So we created this one. Let's check it if it is working. Okay, so if you look at your form, it is there, it is working. So if you choose this one, you cannot choose the other one. I mean, so it is not multiple select, it's a single select. Why it is single select? Why it is adapting this particular property? Because you are enclosing it inside the group box. So whenever something in the group box, then they work as a single component and they get all those properties. Now we need to expand this box a little bit to make it more visible. Let's see if it is visible or not. Yes, you can see that these are visible, so that's good. So another thing you should do, we can make composite as the default option. So we created these radio buttons properly. Now what is our next step? We have to create the cost estimator level. So we should choose a level object. So let's choose it here. Let's put it here. Okay. Call it cost estimator. I mean, the text should be cost estimator, and then this cost estimator should be colored similarly. So for color should be this one, and then font should be Arial, uh, then regular and 10. So that's about it. We can make it, actually, we can make it bold, because this gives you some business information. Maybe we should make it bold. So that's what we did. Oops. Cost estimator. And then what we should do is that we should create some level which will be blank to begin with, because that will be your cost, actually the estimated cost. So cost estimator level should be, you can keep leave it level 2 because there is no use of this level, but here you can do, I mean, there is no programming use for this level, and we can put it like level 3 and call it LBL estimated cost. Okay, and then the font needs to be adjusted as well. We should make it Arial, and then bold, and then 10. So that is it. And level 3, there shouldn't be anything there, but we have to make space for it, make space so that it can accommodate the things there. So that's it for the cost estimator. Let's try it. So you can see it is visible, but then the next component should be what should be two buttons, and also there is an image as well. So two buttons, let's put two buttons here. So button object, so button 1 is, this is calculate. This button's name is calculate. So the text should be calculate, little bit, make it little bit broader, calculate, and then change the font for this one as well. So this should be Arial, and then regular 10, and the color should be the same as the other ones. So calculate, that's the form, that's the button. You can, you can make it bold as well, because this is an important action important action button. So make it like that. Make it little bigger, calculate, and then we need to make, so we need to make their um, I mean the space accordingly, and then another button. So call it so this one, the name, calculate button's name should be calculate button, right? So that's about it, and this one should be clear. This button should be clear button. Now what is the clear button? Here you call it clear, and make this name of the button to be the clear button as well. Okay, so if we name that, and then we need to change the font, make it Arial, uh, bold, and then 10, make it same size as the calculate approximately, and color needs to be the same. So that's about it. So let's move the components towards left, and then we can bring the images. So the picture box up here, so this image needs to be here, so picture box needs to be brought in. Here you are. So picture box object should be something like this. Make it same size as the form, the other things, make it little bigger, nicer, this one, and then you can put the image here. So image should be, you should import the deck. I will give you this picture. So that is about it, and then you have to work with the, you have to work with the stretch size mode. So size mode needs to be stretch image, so that's it. So if you now print it, I mean if you now execute the form, it looks nice, right? I mean it looks almost same as the one you have on the picture. So we are done with the UI, except for a few things like here. What comes here is whenever you put some uh, if you put a text value here, then you should get some error pop up, like it should say that you have to enter some like square footage, and also if you put a negative value you should also get some error. So let's code these message error box, the pop-up error boxes now. So the pop-up error boxes are somehow, the code somehow is attached with, I mean like associated with the button click methods. So let's first code the calculate button. So here once you double click, you can see the calculate button code, calculate button click, this code comes up here. Now what do we do here? So first of all, we are going to calculate the estimated cost. So we need to define several variables. So first of all, we call dim, then I mean we are declaring the things, the footage, square footage as decimal. Okay, so the square footage is first thing. We have to make something called cost per square foot as decimal, right? Then we have to define cost estimate. That's what we are looking for, right? As decimal. Now we have to put the prices, the square foot prices, per square foot prices for different varieties, like what is the cost per square foot for pressure, for the lumber, and then the redwood and the composite. So let's define them. DIM lumber cost. Let's make it lumber cost to be sorry, as decimal. Let's make it consistent with the book 2.35D, but I may change these costs for your homework, so be careful. DIM, then you can put redwood cost as decimal to be equals 7.75D. D is for decimal. Last tutorial you have seen that. Then you have composite cost as decimal equals let's say 8.5. So composite is the most costly, lumber is the cheapest, so that's what it is. Now then so next step, as a next step, what we should do, we should um, we should create some criteria that if the text box, if whatever is showed up under the text box here is not a number, then we should have an error, right? So we call if, okay, is numeric, okay, is numeric, then we call square footage text box, this one, dot text. If it is not numeric, if it is numeric, then you do certain things. If it is not, else you should throw some error, right? So that message needs to be coded here. So that's what I'm doing now. So this message, the one you have here, so let's make it a pen, choose a pen. So this one, this message box we are coding now. So how do you code that? In order to code that, all you have to do, there is a class called component called message box, msgbox. So that's one. And then under the message box you have to write several components, several arguments, namely you have to write that the error message, basically enter the square footage of decking. Then your second variable, you don't need the second one. Third one is it's an error, right? So that is your message box object, and you let's see if it works. So let's run it. there is an error. I don't know what it is. So let's say we what happened. So what is the build error? um, Something wrong with something. So let's see what's going on. So if is numeric this oh sorry, then you can do like cart and you can paste it here, and then you can put some placeholder, do something. We will define something later. Okay. What are the errors, by the way? Oh, this file is locked. That means we have an application already open. Okay. So let's now try it out. So you have it here. See, and then what you can do, you can say test. I mean, this is not a numeric value, and then if you do, you can see some message box shows up with enter the square footage of decking. So we are good. I mean, this part of code is working. So this one is being um, popped up. Now we have to do something else. By default, let's choose composite to be selected, because we have to I mean, it's a good practice to choose one of the radio buttons by default, so that if the customer agrees, I mean, that person wants to select that, and that is automatically selected. And let's say composite is the most popular, so we default it, default by default we select it. So there should be a selected um, for this radio button, there should be some selected uh, tab, I mean option, I mean property, checked. So checked, not selected, it's checked. So call it true. So then if you run it, you will see this one. So you will see that this one is automatically selected. Okay, so that works. Now let's go back to the calculate code, I mean that particular procedure. So inside here do something. Now let's try to work with the do something. So first thing first, if the value is negative, then we should not accept it. So then first thing we should be doing, that square footage, we should write square footage equals convert, we have learned it last time, to decimal. Then there is a text inside your square footage text box. So text, and then you put it there. So you convert it to decimal, and then what's the next step? What you do here is that if the square footage is negative, less than 0, then you again throw up a message box and call that something is wrong. You should put it positive number. So if, let's say we write here, if square footage is greater than 0, you know, then you do something. So call it do something again, and then else. If that is not 0, that is not greater than 0, then what you should do is you write something here like similar to what we wrote here, but different message. So we put it here and call the message to be like we call it you entered. Okay, what is the value? The value is put the and, that is the concatenation, basically square footage, no square foot, it should be square footage text box, this one, dot text, no, not text, to string, to string, this one you entered. So you can tell the system that tell the user that enter a positive number, enter a positive number. Okay, and full stop, and then you can say this is input error. This is the title of the message box. So let's try it out, right? So come here and then let's put -1, let us say. So calculate, and you see you entered, it's not correct. -1 entered a positive number. So what you should do here is square footage text box, and then you should do text. You can do text basically. So let's try it over again. Oh, I think we are already running it, so let's try it again. So here comes it, so -1 and then calculate. So you entered -1, enter the positive number. Okay, so that's a good decent message we are throwing. So all the errors are handled. Now let's do some real coding. So we have to put the control structure, that is if else clause. So what happens if you choose this one, the first one, the lumber? So you can call if lumber radio button checked, checked, this is boolean, then I mean you don't have to write true, equals true, it's boolean. Then what is going on, then you can say that lumber cost, not lumber cost, I mean cost per square feet, cost per square feet equals lumber cost. Okay, so now another criteria, else if, okay, the next button is redwood radio button checked, then you call cost per square feet equals just redwood cost, and then again you put another else if call here else if composite radio button checked, then call cost per square feet equals composite cost. Okay, so we have done that, and then after the end if we should calculate the cost estimate. So our cost estimate should be cost estimate equals cost per square feet times what? The square footage, right? So that's it. So we have calculated it. Now we have to make it visible. So how do we do that? So it should be visible under the level. Call it level. So go there. We want to make it visible under this one. So what is this level called? Level estimated cost, and this one is level 2. That's good. So level estimated cost, level estimated cost dot text text equals, okay. So cost estimate to string, and then make it C, currency. So now what you should do, I mean, it's fine. I mean, there is nothing else we can do here. So that's good. That looks good. Now here actually, if something goes wrong, you should put uh, square footage text box, whatever there under the square footage text box. I mean, if you put a string there, not a decimal value, in this else block you should put text equals nothing. I mean, basically you are initializing it, and then square footage text box, you bring it in focus. So that's it. We almost coded this one. So what else is remaining is, so let's try it out now. So here let's say we have 10 100 square feet composite. So if you calculate it, you get $850. That is right, because 8.5, $8.50, so $850 for that. If you choose redwood, it would be 775. If you choose pressure treated lumber, it should be less. Now we didn't code about the clear, so let's do that now. Go back to the design, double click on clear. So that's how you create the button click function. Now clear is very simple. You know what you have to do, you have to really clear it. So basically you do square footage text box dot text to be equals to nothing, then square footage text box focus, right, and then you do composite button check, that is a default operation, equals true, and then the other one, what is that, redwood radio button should be should not be checked by default actually, sorry, checked equals false, and the other one, that is lumber radio button checked equals false as well. So that's about it. So this clear is also done. Let's try it out. So let's say we have 120 square foot, and then we calculate the cost, redwood is this, pressure is this, and then we clear. So oh yeah, cost estimator needs to be initialized as well. So we can call cost level estimated cost to be dot text to be equals this one. So let's try it again. What happened here? there are warnings. What is going, oh, we have something already open. So call, let's do that again. So when we start, we are using this button, the faint one. Okay, we are basically skipping the debug steps. So let's call it 100 and then calculate the cost. Redo, so did that and clear. Everything is clear. Everything is fine. Okay. So now we have to put another function that, I mean, all these things needs to be there when the form first uploaded. So how do you do that? So go to the form, double click it. So then on load, whenever it is loaded, let's put everything there like that, and that make sure that everything comes up like that when you start it. So I believe that is all you need for this lab. So let's come here. Let's put 65, some odd number. So 552, whatever it is, that is it. Clear. That's good. Let's put A, B, C. I mean unacceptable values. You see that error. Now you put minus 123. I mean this negative number. Calculate. So it should not work. And then if you, even if you put 0, it should ask you to put some positive number. So you are good. So that is the lab for this week. So I'm going to put you as an exercise in our module. So follow this video and get the code completed accordingly. So that will be your this week's assignment. Okay, so happy coding.